Almonds are one of the most popular nuts in the United States. Their popularity not only comes from their taste, but they also have been shown to be very beneficial for our health. California is the sole producer of almonds for the entire country. Many of these almond farms are found in the Central Valley of California from about Bakersfield to Fresno. Almond farms take up around 940,000 acres. California produces well over 700 million pounds of almonds and provides 80% of the world's supply. With so many almonds being produced, it's no surprise that 1.1 trillion gallons of water are used each year just to grow almonds. California regularly has had droughts throughout its history, starting from 1929 to the most recent one starting in 2012. But in only 2 years, this drought has been proving to be the toughest.
Currently in California, there is a huge drought, and it is a lot worse than the past droughts. This is because the drought is more severe in a shorter amount of time than the past. Currently, this drought is affecting tree nuts, and more specifically almonds. Almonds are only produced in California for the nation, as stated before. Almond farmers are growing almonds that are either smaller and shriveled than of a normal size almond because the almonds are getting too much salt from the water, or there is no nut growing in the shell at all. Farmers have had to get rid of almond trees that have gotten too much salt and are no longer producing good almonds. To compensate for their losses, they have had to use groundwater, the only quick source to great amounts of fresh water. This is because the almond farmers do not have enough fresh water to water the trees. To keep up with the demands of the consumers, farmers are currently having to dig deeper wells to get groundwater to water the trees. This is an issue because they are taking great amounts of groundwater, which is in turn decreasing the amount of available groundwater, which is a huge problem. Since this drought is greatly affecting farmers, they need to find some solutions. One very good solution for farmers is micro-irrigation, such as drip irrigation. Drip irrigation is a drip irrigation system that delivers water directly to the root zone of a plant, where it seeps slowly into the soil, one drop at a time. Almost no water is lost through surface runoff or evaporation, and soil particles have plenty of opportunity to absorb and hold water for plants. By almond farmers using the drip irrigation method, they will save the amount of water needed to grow almonds, since almonds need so much water to properly grow. Using drip irrigation will allow the trees to get enough water but still allow the conservation of water. Since it is a tree the farmers are trying to water, 2 long pipes will run on each side of the tree at the base, constantly but slowly dripping water at the root of the plant. Another good solution to the drought that is affecting almonds is monitoring groundwater. If the government required farmers to strictly monitor the amount of groundwater that they are pumping every time they water their plants, it could help to see if it is truly needed. Since almond farmers are just pumping tons of groundwater without having to manage and monitor the amount they are allowed to use, they're just using their wells to meet the demands of the consumers. Almonds are drought resistant, so if they just cut back on the amount of almonds they harvest, they would use less water and allow more water for later years. If farmers keep using all the groundwater without monitoring the large amounts they are currently using, there will be no more reserved groundwater for later. Monitoring the groundwater will ensure more fresh water for the years to come, even through the continued drought.
Another possible solution to ease water usage would be implementing water recycling systems in agricultural practices, industrial uses, and residential. There are 3 types of water recycling systems which differ by how many stages they contain, which could be 1, 2, or 3-stage water recycling systems. 1-stage water recycling allows for heavy waste to settle to the bottom of a large tank and skins off the floating waste. 2-stage water recycling systems are aimed to degrade the waste contained in the water through various methods, which include activated sludge, aerobic granule sludge, filter beds, and others. Finally, there is 3-stage water recycling systems that further cleans water through methods such as lagooning or even disinfects it with ultrafiltration, which would be ideal for potable use in residential areas. Since the majority of water use is for industrial purposes, it would be ideal for people to pressure corporations to start taking responsibility and implementing better water recycling systems. There are many uses for recycled water, which include water, landscapes, and use as toilet water. Since industries are such a significant amount of our water, It would be most beneficial if they implemented water recycling systems in their buildings. Recycled water has been an idea for years, but its use in residential areas is still skeptical. Since the water has been previously used, it is considered gray water. The legal use of gray water reclamation for residential areas varies because of people's psychological concerns. Regardless of what people think about gray water here in the United States, Australia and New Zealand have been using recycled water for years now. Even with technology we have, people are concerned about the safety and health of gray water use. In fact, Matthew O'Connor from Monash University has supported through a study that the three-stage water recycling system has environmental benefits in industrial use. Another source of recycled water is rainfall. Rainfall use would not be considered as effective as gray water use since California isn't receiving sufficient rainfall, but collecting when it does rain would still produce extra water for various uses. Another solution that can help reduce water use should focus on residents since they can conserve more directly. Local and state governments have been trying to conserve water through residential conservation. In 2009, then Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger signed the SB 77 bill, which made California the first state to set statewide targets for water conservation. Since then, Governor Jerry Brown has been advocating a 20% water use reduction from Californians. Since political forces constantly remind Californians about the severity of this drought, a response is seen but still not significant enough to see any major change. If Californians' water use does not decline in time, it may be possible that there could be an extra cost on water use. A possible idea that has been discussed of setting a set amount of water use per household, and if a household uses more than this set amount, they will be charged an extra fee on top of their original rate. Another interesting business that has come up in response to residential conservation has been a service that goes to homes to paint their lawns green. One company called Lawn Paint Pros claims that they can save residents up to 70% of their water bill, and they promote the use of non-toxic paint that is safe for humans and pets. Even though this may sound like a funny idea, if the drought continues to be this tough, people will realize painting a lawn may be better than watering it.
All of these solutions would allow California to save up to 30 to 50% of water and even reserve it for later years. Unfortunately, such measures can be extremely costly and can take years to implement throughout the state.
As we all know, California is a prime and lead producer of almonds in the nation and the world. They are mostly consumed as is due to their nutritional facts, but they have gained their fame by the production of several products, such as almond milk. Almonds have become a household good over the years, but due to the current drought, the amount of production has gone down. According to the California Almond Forecast, the amount of almond production for 2014 was 195 million pounds. That is 5 million pounds less than the 2 million from 2013. If California does not recover from this drought, the amount of almond production will start decreasing due to less water for irrigation, and the prices will increase due to less production. Simple supply and demand from economics. Farmers, almond farmers especially, could run out of business if the drought continues. Around 80% of California's water supply goes directly to agriculture. Most of the almond orchards are located near the San Joaquin River and Sacramento Delta. Farmers have been pumping water to irrigate their crops, but since water levels have gone down, almond orchards have been starting to produce less and eventually dry out. In recent news, many almond farmers have been using salt water as a substitute to irrigate their crops due to the low amounts of fresh water. Though that only led to many orchards to dry out from the roots up. Some farmers are willing to grind up what they have in hopes to start fresh with an almond seed that is drought resistant. Jerry Brown, the current governor of California, has called for a statewide emergency due to the drought. Water regulations have been put in place restricting outdoor water use, such as hosing down driveways or sidewalks. Many communities across the state have set certain dates that people are allowed to use water with a restriction on time, around 10 to 20 minutes. These regulations have been in place due to the low amounts of water stored in reservoirs and ground wells. Those water reserves are California's safety plan to supply cities in need of water. Once all is consumed, people will be left with little to no water at all. If farmers keep pumping up water from ground wells and other types of reservoirs for irrigation, the amount of fresh water will decrease dramatically, leaving California with little to survive off of. Many farmers have spent thousands in digging their own wells for fresh water. As I already mentioned, some farmers have been using salt water to irrigate their crops in hopes of growing.
It's a hard, rains are gonna fall.